morning to all. We are in the 30th session of the international conference being held online by Sahitya Academy in collaboration with FOSWAL. I'm happy that Ajit Ma is with us in this session as well. So on behalf of FOSWAL and Sahitya Academy, I welcome all the poet participants in this session. S. Padmanathan ji, eminent poet from Sri Lanka, chairs this session, and the poets present with us on screen are Alok Bhalla ji, Minu Minocha ji, Tariq ul Ahsan ji, Mukund Prayas ji, Trina Chakravarti ji, and S. Padmanathan himself. So at the outset, I invite Alok Bhalla ji to recite his poems.
Thank you very much. I'd like to first thank Ajit ji and congratulate her as usual for her courage and her hope that things will get better. I'll read to you only two poems. The first one is a new one, which is called In Memorial, Intizar Hussain. And I read this specifically because, sadly enough, Pakistan is missing from the SARC conference. And I hope someday SARC will and Pakistan will join once again to create a community of writers, poets, scholars. This poem is divided into 8 parts, and hence it's very short. It's called In Memorial Intizar Hussain, who I think was the great writer of the last generation of the Indian subcontinent. And I worked extensively on him. 1. He sent us a precious gift, a story about children playing near a well with chiming bells and bees humming over the damp earth. 2. At lunch, his wife whispered, "Do not tell him about the mazar under the banyan tree. He will at once leave to offer his homage to both." Ideograms of time under the shadow of eternity. 3. In his travelogue, he didn't write about his visit to our home in Hyderabad, for it is forbidden to reveal the secrets of one's hosts. 4. It is important to pay attention, he said, to the Neem tree. In winter, it follows the rising sun. In summer, its yellowing leaves accompany the hot winds and mark the route of departing souls. 5. His father had advised him, if you want to be a poet, be patient, be still, wait. Listen to the tapping of a woodpecker and learn to scan the sounds of words. He got lost instead in the dark woods of Amir Hamza, where spirits spin stories of other enchantments. There is no rule book, 6. There is no rule book for immigrants to live by. Every time they cross a border, their nostalgias fade and are lost. Their dreams of a future are often in ruins. They cannot follow the middle path. 7. As he walked along the dry path around a field of wheat ripening in the sun, he saw sparrows twitter in the sky. Suddenly their wings caught fire and their bodies exploded. 8. Each of us lives at the edge of a cataclysm. That's one. Do you have time for a second one? Another short one? Okay.
Yes, sir, please.
This is called The Grammar of Ruins, and it is based upon an incident in the Mahabharata, which all of you know, in which Yudhishthir is questioned by a yaksha who's a stork before he's allowed to drink water and revive his brothers who have died and who had not obeyed the injunction by the yaksha. It's called The Grammar of Ruins, and it's a prose poem. A penitent king once said, without any anxiety to be beautiful and virtuous, beautiful and happy, without the intoxication and the enthusiasm of courage and death, without the restlessness of conquerors. Let elegance be so ordinary, so quiet, that it remains unnoticed. The gracefulness of the gods should be familiar, like memory, and as fleeting. Every day a row of white stalks disturbs a lake's surface with questions. The poet king is no longer sure of his answers or if they are worth repeating. There is a confusion of stones all around and the eternal error of paths not taken. In the grammar of ruins, the harsh sunlight is full of smoke and hands never fold over each other like leaves lost in trees. Thank you. I'm done. I have only 7 minutes, so.
Thank you, Balla sir.
Thank you very much.
Krishna, good morning. Just 1 second. Let me thank Ajit ji to begin with. She's a great mother who organized all this. I had missed out on the first day. It was a technical thing. Now she has given me a slot in the 4th in row. After I don't know whether you have it in
Yeah.
You have that.
Yeah.
Ajit ji, thank you once again. I'm seeing your face. Thank you.
Next, I invite Minod Sharji.
Thank you so much. Very beautiful good morning to all my fellow writers, chairperson, and respected Ajit ma'am, of course. So I first of all thank you for giving me this opportunity to present my composition. Before I read it out though, I would like to create a background of environmental folklore about our country. So through the ages, our country has been very conscious about her ecological welfare, handing down to us a rich heritage of tribal tales that showcase the harmony maintained between nature and humankind. Very particularly, utmost care was taken not to harm it in any way, with many beliefs being interwoven into life about the repercussions of doing so. May I cite a chopai from the Ramayana where Ravana says, I have not cut down any peepal tree. Why then does calamity befall me? Many a times the elders would warn people against cutting trees. And then more recently, in a village of Arunachal Pradesh, there was this big ancient peepal tree that people believed was the abode of spirits. Some people chopped it down. Next year, a flash flood inundated the rice fields of all those involved in chopping the tree and rendered them totally uncultivable. There had been floods before, but no one had ever seen anything like this. Even climate change couldn't explain what happened. And such natural calamities are linked in people's minds to their beliefs. In her book about Hinduism and nature, Nandita Krishna writes, there is a popular belief that the cutting of trees would bring about the destruction of the woodcutter and his family. And this story emerged later about a man who started a sawmill by the river in that village in Arunachal Pradesh. The elders warned him against making money from the forest, but he wouldn't listen. And eventually the man was diagnosed with cancer and died a horrible death, losing his mind towards the end also. Only God knows if his suffering was due to a curse or felling of trees or just fate. His workers, however, died in that devastating flash flood, which uprooted the entire mill complex, washing away everything, the machinery, the vehicles, everything, as if nature had exacted vengeance. This is just one story to connect the retaliation of nature against those who exploit her. There are innumerable such tales in our copious literature. Then there's the question of peace. Only those who lived through partition know what it was like. The trauma of being pulled from the roots and flung towards a foreign land, across unimaginable violence, leaving scars that were never healed. The tragedy of the whole scenario was the atrocities were committed not by strangers, but by people they knew, people they had lived amongst, seen every day and spoken to. And they did not get off scot-free either. The perpetrators eventually met an inevitable end where entire lineages were wiped out. For what they were committing was not just a crime against their neighbors, it was a crime against a shared heritage. And this is reflected in what happened in Kashmir too. No one is the victor in such programs. What we give out, we get back. Then how easy can it then be to create a harmonious life? So I would like to now present my thoughts, and like they're coming directly from Mother Earth first. So I call it existence. Existence seemed so pure and enriching. Till something called progress overwhelmed it. It altered my inherent perspectives, making me afraid for myself. Afraid I became of those high rises, for they dug deep into me. Afraid I became of those powerful engines, rolling and trampling all over me. Afraid I became of those mining giants, as my innards they did upset. Afraid I became of the dumped waste, for my soils did they pervade. Agonizing became my existence, a burden on those millions of years that fashioned me to perfection. Then fears arose for my heart. Lovable no longer seemed the innumerable life forms I had created. Will I have compassion for them all? And they are there for my body as well, those fears. Will I be able to sustain them all? What if I prove inadequate and miss out on the lot? And then there is my brain, the source of my being. How do I convince it not to retaliate against my own kin? And most of all, I fear for my soul, the essence of all humanity. How can it not get wilted in the face of so much indignity? O ye beings, shards of my heart, hear my silent calls of torment and revive my dying gasps. For those agitated agonies will be a death knell for thee as well. You have the power, you have the will. Just a bit by each will make us all surviving fit. Yes, my brethren, we have the power, we have the will. We, each of us, is equally responsible for the ongoing strife of the world today. For all of us are a part of the whole, a part of the collective consciousness, contributing thus to every occurrence. So each of us has a dynamic role to play and can participate in world affairs simply by taking charge of our own thoughts, being aware, not replicating the extrinsic strife by rethinking it all in the mind. Instead, creating the opposite and elevating the tone of the universal consciousness. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thomas, sir, could I now request you to recite some of your poems here?
Thank you, Krishna. Let me begin by once more thanking Ajit ji, who is a mother to all, who is, in spite of all that's happening around, she's found the courage and the stability to steer clear of all that's happening around and trying her best. You know, the last time it was during the Afghan women's crisis that we met, and I remember the strength with which she sustained us through. Because it was a very, very emotional moment when an Afghan lady spoke of the terrible state they were in, and you know the staying power that she had in her speech, her soothing words played a great role in calming the atmosphere at that time. And I see now here Mr. S. Padmanabhan of Sri Lanka, who is a friend who translated my poem into Tamil. I think it was appreciated by a lot of people. It was Shurpanakha that you did, you know. And I thank Professor Alok Bhalla, who is an old friend, and Minu Minochaji. All these are Trinath Chakraborty. All these are friends of mine, and I missed the first session because of a technical problem. I could not attend. Now, Ajit ji has very kindly, motherly accommodated me, and I'm reading my poems now. My poems, some of them are about you know the backdrop of the pandemic, so that will have some contemporaneity like that, and some are two are old ones. Old means a few years. It's old age. The first one is titled "In the Eyes of the Beholder." In the eyes of the beholder. It was a dream, and as dreams go, the details are vague. And Coleridge-like, I committed to this digital file what was fresh in my memory once I woke up. I was rolling on the marsh from where the waters of the backwater had receded at low tide. Most unnaturally, the ground was firm, the grass blades smoothed over by a deposit of silt, but miraculously not forming slush. I rolled on the floor, and there was no dirt sticking to my shirt, its snow white appearance not sullied. Those standing around exclaimed, "You are rolling in mud. Get out of it before the high tide swells, before it is too late to save yourself." But I looked at myself, found that I was spick and span, and told the onlookers so. They gazed on far at the horizon as the tsunami wave of total annihilation was sweeping its way up. The second poem is titled Eyes. I can see only your eyes outside the mask, the quaintly amused, then suddenly sparkling recognition of my masked face dawning in them. As your heart surges, the fire suddenly burns in your eyes, the bashful pursing of your lips, well concealed behind the cloth. The forward thrust of your body to fall into my arms arrested midway on second thoughts of keeping the distance. Withdrawing the outstretched hand, shying away for want of gloves. Unable to meet on campus, locked down for more than a year, missing your hug for so long, forgetting the warmth of your body's light press, avid to at least hold your hands. But you withdraw. The whole sequence of movements in this weird choreography, the phantom of a fiery lip lock groans. Now we can only stand 2 meters apart, hands crossed across our chests, and merely love with our eyes, employing Navarasa bhavas to the full. My next poem is titled Sarmad Shahid. This is when I revisited the Juma Masjid area in Balimaran some time ago, which inspired two poems. This is the first one. The first one is on the martyr Sarmad, who was executed by the Emperor Aurangzeb. The king is naked, cried the innocent child. Power is naked, the unsheathed sword. Truth is naked too. Innocence can see it. The two often clash in battle, sparks flying. Sticking to nudity is the ultimate truth speaking. That's what Sarmad did, the absolute unconformity outside the frames of the established. If Mansur al-Hallaj declared, I am the truth, chanting Anal Haq, Sarmad did something similar, saying only the La ilaha part of the Kalima, leaving out illallah, perhaps implying there is no God outside but within oneself. Dazed by the unraveling, Aurangzeb had him beheaded outside the eastern gate of the Juma Masjid, where the headless Sarmad danced on the steps, carrying his head in his hands before giving up the ghost, as the legend goes. Standing on the very steps, I frame a picture of his red dargah below with the Kila-e-Mualla, or the exalted fortress, which was eventually reduced to the simple Lal Kila to suit the latter-day reality of total decrepitude looming in the skyline behind. The next poem is Halib's Haveli in Balimaran Road. The timeless poet shares his home now with a shop. Never mind, faring better than many of Delhi's beloved bards who upheld the Ganga Jamuni Takshib and yet have left no earthly trace. One can only gaze around at the relics of his life with a lump rising to one's throat. Such exalted conceits, wordcraft, humor, unbending sense of honor bruised by history's nasty turns. Perpetually in debt, yet never perturbed in his angelic self. Homeless, ever roaming in spirit, he would have little value for a majestic dwelling place like this. He would even forgive the garish facelift given to his long-lived-in one-time quarters. He knows these, and the countless tomes turned out about him are well-meaning attempts to keep his memory alive. He would even forgive this, my lame verse in his name. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Thomas, sir. Next, I invite Sri Tariqul Ahsanji, our poet friend from Bangladesh. Please unmute yourself, sir. Oh, yes.
Hello.
Yeah, you're audible now. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good morning. And the Honorable Chairman of the session. And thanks to the Sri Ajit Kaurji, the mom, and the persons, poets, fiction writers, and every person behind the screen listening me. So I'm from Bangladesh, University of Rajshahi. I'm just recite my poems. Actually, I am reading out it. Recite is an art, you know better. However, I will try my poems, 4 poems, if the time permits. However, the first poem is that the mad. The mad, before becoming mad, I was so restless to find out all sorts of errors of others, making funny comments and turning warmth into a quarrelsome situation. Even I couldn't tolerate any sensible person. I tried to make their life a hell. Nobody knew I was the culprit behind. Then I passed my life like an actor, and finally I become a match. The first sign is seen in my wrong sense getting demolished. I used to think that all is well. The new symptom arose. All persons seem to me known. I agreed that all are better than me and I have no enemies. My family tried many a time to bring me a doctor, but I refused because I realized that I was ill in the past and I am seriously sound now. The next, the bark. Here some explanation from me that there are some terminology in Bengali very much used. It's not clear to you, but I have no way. I have no way to produce it. The bark. Suppose the night left making her own way through very busy clock stick, or cried it with some signals in deep shimul bush embracing the red flower. It knew little of that. How much does the mendicant now know the Nalanda? What is written in different pitok? What's the fire that made the tree into ash or the bark? Our roses come red, receiving blood from our heart. Our footprint draws the streets and avenues. Place continues with wind. New man makes noises near the ear. The inner world drags like an old ruined farmer. The dead leaves arrange festivals before eyes. But we have counted years of civilization in the bark. Only history, only dust and some uncolored butterflies. Someone composed the last part of our song. Another poet, I didn't understand its meaning, but got pleasure in silence. Picasso called us many times in the eye of color. You may wipe off your rhythm from the kingfisher, settled in the bamboo tree. Let's see everything clearly. See how many bluish glass hoopers in paddy fields sit fecking kakatua in a kamranga tree. Very turbulent wave in the world. Rustic as it is gunpowder in wine. But Shalik calls me in morning. I have to go to the green world. The third one, Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a very technical word. It's very much related to computer. However, here is in different meaning. Ubuntu. I also thought I would go to Bodhi like though I know a little of a Ram family, society, love and sorrow, or having the love of a woman, I also frequently would like to be a bowl across the path Nadia. I would also like the less traveled road of a village. There was an invisible rope around a person, leaving all hopes and imagination in the water of Garud. I was busy in counting lifetime. The heart blazed to break the man-made manacles. The boy made my kite go katta by his latai. Or are all ropes tied together? Do I have any rope? Do I have any kite, another latai? The last, obsession. Do you have a railway carriage whistling every morning beside your home? Or a lace-watered river passing through your home every day? Water and sand make her belly so profound. Do you have any mango tree peering towards the sky? A Cadbury plays random games on a boroi tree, or a Shadbaila offering quartz with a partner in your yard? I am eagerly waiting to know how the whole world changes by the trained leg of toil, tainted red leg of toil. Do you tell me how the sun, being impressed by the little river, or how Mars shocked the setting sun? I think all the day how the river in my eyes runs silently. I think how the pinge makes tune, Ghashporing colors me always. Does your Shirish blow mass wind? Or Shama in Shimul? Or butterfly in Jarul? Or kingfisher with a sharp eyes in the browns of a babla? Thanks to all. I hope we will meet again physically. This is my pleasure for me that I miss. Also, I missed 3 or 4 years to join. Even we have a ticket of my year ticket, but we missed the conference 13 March when Corona embraced our everybody. So thanks again, and Mrs. Ajit Kaurji, my mom. He called me little son from Bangladesh. So everybody thanks and wish and thanks to join to have the chance to recite my poetry. Thanks to all.
Thank you, Tariqul Ahsan Saab. Thanks for your warm wishes as well.
Thank you.
I invite Shri Mukunda Prayasji, one of the eminent poets from Nepal.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar. Good morning, everyone. Especially Ajit Kaur ma'am. At this time of the pandemic, all we want to do is escape the shadow of the pandemic and write bright poems. We want to throw out all the fear and hug everyone with confidence. So I want to to thank everyone in the organizer team for holding this important program at the time like this. And if I may, I'd like to recite my poem shortly. Especially thank you for Ajit Kaur ma'am. I have 2 short poem, special short. First poem is Super Void. Title is Super Void. Like the dry leaves all over the ground, written on them the story of dire separation with the tree. Like the pebbles on the bank apart from the river, at the court in the museum. Of the centuries-old defected dictator, the millions of piled up thoughts, they will get old too, and there will be one last night. Remember after the final light. Remember after the final light will be the beginning of the super void. Thank you. This is one. Our next poem topic is salt. The sweat of farmers, the sweat of the porters, and the sweat of all those who sweat. When they flowed the ocean from the day the ocean became salty. But how would the ocean remain salty by itself? It returned all the sweat to the people who gave it. Surprising, the salt is our own sweat. That's why we can't live without salt. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mukunda.
Thank you, sir.
Now I invite Trina Chakravarti, yet another noted poet from India. Welcome, Trina.
Thank you, Krishna ji. Very warm and good morning to all of you. And I would like to thank Ajit ma'am for organizing such a wonderful program at this time of uncertainty. So As a prelude to my poems, I can say, the day we started harming the nature, we have unknowingly started harming ourselves. We have created a lonely and distant world for us. My poems, which I have selected to read, are all about this distant world within us. I would like to read my poems from this book, Bridge on the 32nd Floor. Actually, I had a wish to launch this, my translated book of poems in this program. So here is the book, The Bridge on the 32nd Floor. My first poem is Resource. Once upon a time, I used to stand on the roof and think about faraway things. Now, I think about the roof from far away. I cannot believe. I see the leaves blowing away. I find dust on my railing drooping days. I always wanted a distant space. Many a times, I wanted to come back to my roof. Quite a few houses standing one after the other, an easy day sidestepping the telephone. Empty streets, wide awake in their oblique existence. I watch everything from afar. I think about the roof from far away. Once upon a time, I used to dream of the far away, standing on the roof. The next poem is The Train in the Train of Mist. Now I can reach Meghatuburu any day. I mingle with the crowd in the train of mist. It feels a bit chilly. I see the harpoon stuck on the window glass. I see through the glass. I'm standing still. The river is shivering out of the route map. One after another, the unknown stations rise up. Before I could know my destination, I'm leaving behind the bearable city. Thus, very easily, any day, I can reach Meghatuburu, where the gatekeeper extends his hand to open the fountain, and I manage to stand carefully inside the open mouth of the spotlight. My last poem is Drawing Class. A person had taught me to draw a tree, how to gradually fill colors in the wood, how the stalks will grow alongside the main trunk, and many other extensive and finer branching techniques. And at the last, to draw the leaves. How will they look from far, from near? Even he taught me to draw the veins and veinlets of the leaves. Keeping on drawing the tender green leaves, one day the plant grew up into a tree. Whereas no one taught me to draw its surroundings. No one made me learn to draw how it would look when the sunshine falls on it, how it would look bowed against the storm, drenched in incessant rain, covered in snow, how it would look when its skin shagged into the earth. Nobody taught me to draw these things. Just that one day I saw my drawing book was entirely full of dry leaves and twigs. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Now I invite S. Padmanabhanji, the chair, to sum up as well as recite his poems.
Thank you. Let me honor Ajit Ma, who is the moving force behind the SARC literary forum, especially the first one. But for her energy, even though she is frail and old, but for her energy, this program won't materialize. In fact, a couple of months back, she was toying with the idea of inviting us personally to Delhi as she used to in the good old days of the pre-pandemic era. But then things hadn't improved and we have to be satisfied with this online recitation of poetry. I say hello to all my fellow poets, though I cannot spend time in naming each and every one. I see my friend A.J. Thomas, grown older and wiser, with his grey beard, still reading his powerful poems. I will be asking you, sir, for the typescript of a couple of poems, as usual, that tempted me to translate them into Tamil. Now to my poem. I also thank Ajit Ji and the fraternity for honoring me with the position of chair for this session. I'll read 3 poems, and if time permits, the 4th one, but I'm conscious of time, which is running. The first poem is Beyond Borders. Her last journey winds its way through alleys and lanes. 6 sons carry her bier. Did I say sons? No, her foster boys. 3 decades ago, she went to Dubai to take care of her master's 6 children. They adored this Amma, the embodiment of motherly love. The wheel of time rolled on. Ailments plagued Shanti. Shanti was her name. She returned to Sri Lanka and in 3 months died. Her Arab sons flew to Sri Lanka. On their shoulders, her bier sails to the cemetery. After burial, they squat on the ground and recite the Holy Quran. To hell with race and religion. This poem is based on the true story of a Sri Lankan housemaid. Now I read my second poem, again on a similar theme. The world will survive. This is based on a news item that came on TV and perhaps newspapers. With March 18 came the new commandment. Stay away from each other. Maintain social distancing, at least 3 meters. The new injunction is enforced strictly. Continuous curfew for months on end. Those who venture out are flogged, their vehicles seized. A Muslim couple had adopted a Hindu girl, showered all their love on her. Conversion was never in their minds. The girl blossomed into a beautiful lass. The foster parents found a handsome young man. Yes, a Hindu. A solemn marriage ensued. The Muslim father gave away his foster daughter to the Hindu groom. I repeat, the Muslim father gave away his foster daughter to the Hindu groom. To me, this silver lining on the dark corona cloud. To me, this is the silver lining on the dark corona cloud. So long as there are liberals like the Muslim couple, in a world swayed by fanatics, I shout from the rooftop, not everything is lost. Don't despair, the world will survive. Now to my third point. An ode to a toad. An ode, as you all know, is a praise song. This is a novel ode. A warm June morning, I was enjoying a bath. It was then I saw him, staring at me innocently, ensconced on the edge of the bathtub. Wet, brown, and shiny. Honestly, at first sight, I didn't like him. Instinctively, I felt like sweeping him away. But how? I didn't want to touch him. Eyes glistening, he looked sticky. I was getting late. Having finished my bath, I left hurriedly, leaving him. The following morning, too, he was there. Quite a nuisance, I thought. Splashed on him a bucket full of warm water. He seemed to enjoy it. The encounter continued every morning. Neither party giving in. I was becoming philosophical. Why do I harbor an unreasonable abhorrence for the visitor? Has he no right to share my bathroom? Are my pronouncements that all living beings on earth be happy, bogus, and hollow? I could feel a transformation coming over me. Avoidance gave way to expectation, disgust to admiration. It was a holiday. As I entered relaxed, I couldn't believe my eyes. My visitor was there as usual. He had brought a partner, a dainty, slim dame. Oh, no, no, I cried. You both would bring forth a litter of tadpoles and oust me from my bathroom. Tampatum, croaked the dainty dame. Seeking asylum? Tampatum. Okay, I relented. But be careful, a rattlesnake frequents our garden. My mind is at ease. When monsoon commences next month, I'll go to sleep, lulled by the cacophony. Tampatum. Not a bad prospect, is it? Thank you for the hearing and attention. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Well, our four of our poet friends could not join in. Suman Pokhrel from Nepal, Arundhati Subramanyamji from India, Rajani Dhakal, and Yuvraj Nayagare from Nepal. Four of these poet friends could not join in. Thank you. Thanks, all the dear poets, for being with us in this session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.